has led to you being contributory when it comes to the SiGMA Foundation?
It takes a number of years, but it is probably the best thing that one can do if you manage to say, you know what, I managed to have 5, 10, 15 individuals who in 3-4 years' time will no longer be dependent on donations or charity because they now have built certain skills.
Welcome to today's interview with Nicky Gouder, a partner at Seed and Chief Business Development Officer at Binderr. With a remarkable journey in philanthropy, Nicky is joining us today to further discuss how he has been instrumental in supporting SiGMA Foundation's impactful projects. Join us as we delve into his journey, motivations, significant projects, partnership strategies, and his involvement with the SiGMA Foundation's Women Empowerment Project. Nicky, welcome. Can you tell our listeners a little bit more about yourself, your position maybe, and what drives your passion for making this positive impact throughout your endeavors?
Sure. Thanks for having me. My name is Nicky. I'm a 39-year-old, father of 3 girls. From a work perspective, I'm a partner at Seed and the Business Development Officer at Binderr. What drives me? I think what drives me is probably wanting to do things differently. Whether we speak about work or philanthropy or anything, it doesn't mean I always succeed, so sometimes there are big failures, but I think the status quo is something which annoys me. So wanting to do things differently or a bit outside the norm is probably what drives me in my everyday life, again, be it work or not.
Nicky, how do you choose which organizations and which projects to support?
Okay, I think, look, this is a very important question because many times people tell me, but listen, when I donate money, how do I really know whether that money is going to end up to where I want it to end up? And I think choosing the organization or the donation or the way you donate, I think is extremely important. My early experiences were with the late Father George. Again, through Keith Marshall. And before I met Keith and before I met Father George, I had struggled to find that right project which I could trust and say, you know what, this is where I'm going to spend my time and also help to collect money for this particular project. I think trust is a very important aspect of which project you choose, and ultimately probably the projects which I choose and which I suggest people choose are probably projects which they can see. So flying down to, be it Ethiopia, be it Africa, be it wherever, and actually seeing the project being done, being built, or it's in its final stages, I think that gives you the most satisfaction and peace of mind that the money or the time you put into that project actually came to fruition, and not simply donating to any organization which you never heard of or know nothing about. I think that is a very important aspect for me, and something which I also suggest to people who donate or take part in these projects.
Well, you've been involved in various projects, right? Like building schools, hospitals, providing fresh, clean water, facilities. Which project do you think had the most impact on you personally?
I think it was probably a project where we financed the construction of a well in a particular town in SiGMA in Ethiopia. And it struck me not because it was a large project, because it was very actually small in size, both from a monetary point of view and also the construction, but the impact that it left on the people of the town was amazing. And you could see it because the day the well was finalized, we were actually there, and the whole town got together. So families, women, children, and the appreciation they showed to me and to my wife when we were there was something which I had never seen and cannot comprehend. So we cannot comprehend the fact that people need to walk tens of kilometers to simply get a bucket of water or a bottle of water for them to drink. We cannot comprehend that. We simply switch on a switch, or anything we want is available to us. So the fact that these families now had a well in their town was something which to them, it's like giving them gold, you know? So probably that was the project which was closest to my heart. Again, because it's something which I remember coming back home, you know, cold water in the fridge, warm water outside, soft drinks. We do not understand the difficulty which people go through just to simply get a glass of water, or water for washing, for example.
That's really interesting. What has led to you being contributory when it comes to the SiGMA Foundation? And why the SiGMA Foundation?
So I had kind of stopped a bit. So I mentioned I had 3 kids. So in the last 7-8 years, I haven't done much in relation to these projects. But now I felt the need to say, okay, now I want to get involved in them again. Maybe I can't travel to these places as much as I could have before, but I really wanted to get back into it and give back. I know Keith for a number of years. So I said, listen, SiGMA is the right foundation to kind of use for my energies in this case. Again, because it comes back to our initial question, why choose certain projects and why choose certain people? It comes down to trust both of Keith and both of SiGMA. So that is why I decided to get back into this through the SiGMA Foundation.
Nicky, you've also set a goal to finance the hardware of the Women Empowerment project that we have ongoing from the SiGMA Foundation. Could you elaborate on why choosing this project and how it resonates with you and what your goals are? What kind of impact you're trying to make through this?
Yes, so as you mentioned, it's a women empowerment project where, as the name suggests, we're empowering women not simply by giving them money or food, but by giving them certain skills so they can become independent. So donating money is great, giving food is fantastic, but actually building and empowering individuals in these certain towns so that they ultimately would not depend on donation and charity, that is the ultimate goal. It's not easy because it takes years and years of them to be able to learn, and even once they do learn certain skills, it is not that easy. It's not like there's a certain market ready for them to start selling their product. So it takes a number of years, but it is probably the best thing that one can do if you manage to say, you know what, I managed to have 5, 10, 15 individuals who in 3-4 years' time will no longer be dependent on donations or charity because they now have built certain skills. We focused in this case on women because women and children are probably the most, the weakest in societies. Obviously, SiGMA has other projects which do not focus solely on women, but the idea here is to empower them. The idea is that in a few years' time, we go back to these women and they won't need our donation and charity. That is the ultimate goal.
Now, when it comes to looking ahead, what are your aspirations for the continued philanthropic work that you are aspiring to carry on? And do you have any specific projects or any specific areas that you are looking to focus in the near future?
I think, as I have previously done probably with the late Father George, I would do again with SiGMA. So through Keith and Jesse, the first thing I did when I met them a few months ago is, listen, you tell me where the needs are. So I'm not someone who's constantly on the ground in Ethiopia or in Kenya or in other countries, so I don't really know the needs myself. So I see what projects SiGMA Foundation are focusing on over the next 4 months and years, and see where possible that I can help in any way or shape or form. So I very much rely on them to tell me, listen, this is what we're building for the next few months, this is what we're building for the next few years, and kind of then see which ones resonate mostly with me. I very much like to be involved in projects where there are women and children involved, particularly children in terms of building of schools, also because the previous projects I was involved in, I mentioned the project where we build the well, but I was also involved in other projects where we help build and also paint schools. And the faces when you see these children walk into a school for the first time, again, similar to the previous experience I mentioned, is something which we cannot comprehend because, fortunately or unfortunately, we have everything at our disposal whenever we want it.
I would like to thank you, Nicky, for joining us today, for your time and your expertise as well as inspiring words, and we look forward to witnessing your continued impact and efforts in the years to come. As we conclude this discussion, I would like to invite our listeners to continue exploring engaging discussions like this one. Follow us on YouTube and Spotify to stay connected. Until next time, this is Maria and you are listening to the SiGMA Podcast.